guys, welcome to another episode of No Mama Grow Mama. This is the place where we talk about all things related to health and wellness for you and your family, which if you've watched these episodes before, you know is pretty much any topic under the sun. Today we are talking with Debbie about a very interesting topic, one that's close to my heart for sure. I wanted to invite Debbie on to share some information with you on CBD oil. So Debbie, why don't you tell everybody who you are, what's your background, what brought you to sort of this place in your life?
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me on here. I couldn't think of a better topic to be talking about at this time of stress and anxiety than CBD. And I'm so excited to be able to help people find the medications they need and the solutions that they need naturally. How this all started was I was in the health space doing clean eating programs and detoxes. And it was maybe 4 years ago when my clients started to ask me about CBD. And at the time we were bringing it up from the US, and there was a company that we were dealing with, and it was helping literally 100% of our clients. Like my business partner and I, we're comparing notes, and we were both doing all these online programs and realized, wow, this is just amazing. Let's dive a little deeper. So we went into deep dive education mode and learned everything we could about CBD. And then it became legal in Canada. And we're like, wow, this opens up a ton. And then everyone in Canada can find exactly what they need, and we no longer need to bring it from the States. So that was amazing. And then before that became legal, I took all of the CME, the medical doctor courses that I could online to educate myself. So I'm in a position right now of knowing a lot because I've been doing this for at least 4 years. I know a lot of the products out there. I know what works, what doesn't, how it works. And I've also taken a lot of courses, so I'm very educated in it. So I've kind of positioned myself as the CBD, I hate to say expert because no one's really an expert in this, but I've got a lot of experience in it that I can help people usually find what natural solutions relating to CBD and medical cannabis can help them and direct them in the right direction.
That's excellent.
It's a fun space to be in. It really is.
Well, it is. And I would think it's an interesting place, especially with everything that's just happened in Canada with legalization and stuff like that. So guys, I wanted to share with you actually why I brought Debbie on. So Debbie and I have known each other for, I don't even know how long now, many years, from a business perspective. And we've always kind of stayed connected on and off through the years. And I was watching and saw what Debbie was getting into. And she's been a guest on, I think, a No Mama Grow Mama episode before too, related to nutrition. Yeah. So I saw what Debbie was getting into. And so for those of you who have seen other episodes, you'll remember that I share a lot about my son and his allergies. We joke that he's basically allergic to life because he pretty much is. He's allergic to a lot of things outside. He's got a lot of food allergies, and thankfully it doesn't impact him internally, but it does come out through his skin. So he has major skin issues, which is hard for a growing child, and it's very uncomfortable. So we have been to specialists on both the natural and the traditional medical side for years on and off. We've seen tons of different specialists to help him. And when I saw what Debbie was doing, I contacted her just to say, hey, can you give me some information? Can this benefit someone like my son? And Debbie sent me what we call our magic jar. And so within the magic jar, you can talk about it a little bit with this too, Debbie. I don't truthfully understand or know what's really in it other than the basic ingredients. But we were on a beach last year, actually, when I spoke to Debbie about this. And Debbie was like, I have to send you this. You will love it. It will work. I promise you. And as a mom who's been through all of this on and off for 9 years, the everyday battle with my son makes it very hard to believe that I can find something that works. Because truthfully, everyone has said, hey, what I will do for your son will work. And it hasn't. So with a healthy dose of skeptical optimism, I was like, yeah, Debbie, ship me the jar. And she did. It arrived the very next day. And my son was thankfully in a flare up with his skin. And the day that it arrived, that night, he had, with his fingernails, made huge tear marks across his belly while he was sleeping. So they were quite deep, just from his itching, which this is what we deal with every single day. He wakes up bloody every morning from his itching. So he had these very big, deep scratch marks across his belly. And I was like, okay, we're going to give Debbie's magic jar a try. So before he went to bed that night, we put the ointment on his belly. He woke up in the morning. We took off his pajamas to look at his belly, and I almost started crying. And I looked at my husband and I said, there's no way that's not even possible. There's no way that could have worked like that. The scratches were deep. They were not just surface abrasions. He had torn deeply into his skin with his fingernails. So there was like channels from his fingernails. When he woke up that next morning, they were gone. Not only were the channels gone, his belly was entirely clear. And I was like, that's not even possible. That's not even possible for abrasions and scratches to heal, that are that deep, to heal that quickly. And yet there his belly was, it was clear. And I was like, this is some kind of magic, because how is that even possible? The skin can't repair itself that quickly, but yet it did. So when I saw that, I messaged Debbie right away. And I was like, I don't know.
Skeptical. You're still skeptical.
Yeah, I don't know what's in your magic jar, but send me all of it because I want it all for him. I just want to cover him with it and get his skin clear. And so thankfully, it has been working for him. I was just telling Debbie before our call, we ration it right now just because I don't know if I can get more of it every now and then. It has been an incredible blessing for his skin. And so that's why I wanted to share this chat with you guys today. But there's a lot of information you probably need to know about this. So that's why we brought Debbie on as the professional, educated person to share with us on this topic. So Debbie, tell us about CBD. What are the basics that we need to know about this thing or the products that you can get CBD in? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so such a big topic. I'll try to touch on it and then offer, if anybody has any questions, I'll offer my services and a consultation for free.
Yep.
So I want to thank everybody just for being open to learning more about it and not being nervous. I want to kind of change that stigma against it because I have seen it help literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with everything from pain, inflammation, insomnia, headaches, acid reflux, as well as just overall well-being. And I just wanted to tell everyone, it's not new. Like if you see somebody saying, well, I don't want to try anything new. Modern medicine is new. All the medications you have are fairly new if you look into it. But medical cannabis itself has been around, they say, over 5,000 years. So it's quite old. Queen Victoria used cannabis for her menstrual cramps. They used it topically. In the 1930s, it was one of the top 3 medications in the Book of Pharmacopoeia, which is what doctors used, and it was one of the top 3 things they used. It was the go-to. And then in 1937, there was a lot of prohibition, especially around hemp, which is also cannabis, and it was all political. So basically, the government had classified it as a Schedule 1, which it was helping everyone, but they classified it as Schedule 1, which means no benefit, and it is a banned substance. And it was, like I said, political. The reason, and the stories are, really, if you look into it, it's quite amazing. But hemp was basically used for newspaper, cloth, fuel. And Henry Ford actually made the first Model T, the body of it, with hemp. And there's a picture of him. Yeah, there's a picture of him online with a baseball bat hitting it to show how hard the body was because he made it with hemp. And it gets better, he made the biofuel with hemp as well. That was Henry Ford.
That's
so
really
guess who banned it in the 1930s? It was the paper industry, Hearst. It was the fuel industry, Dow, right? So all of these industries just in a 20-minute closed session banned it completely. And then you can't test a banned substance. But one gentleman who's a scientist in Israel in the mid-1980s started studying the body and realized we have what we call an endocannabinoid system, which we're born with. So we are actually born with, an immune system, a digestive system, and an endocannabinoid system. Every mammal has a backbone that has this, right? So we started to realize that is in cannabis. Cannabinoids are in cannabis. We have a system for the cannabinoids that are in cannabis naturally in our body. This is going to blow your mind. It's actually in breast milk. So,
really?
Yes. So what makes cannabis so powerful are the cannabinoids, which is CBD is one of the cannabinoids, and so is THC. So the powerful components of CBD and cannabis feed our body natural system, and it's in breast milk. Yeah. So that's how natural it is. So oftentimes I tell people, just don't worry about it. It's actually like the vitamin that your body is missing. And there's a lot of studies that are now saying that stress and anxiety, pain, inflammation could be caused from lack of cannabinoids, because we actually produce our own.
What? Really?
Endocannabinoids. So the cannabinoids, or you can get them from plants, phytocannabinoids. So we produce our own cannabinoids, and you can get them from plants, the cannabis plants. So it's really feeding your body something natural. And a lot of people find that that they didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well,
isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah. I mean, we could dive into that lack of information and misinformation too, I'm sure, on a different.
That's okay. It gives me a job. It gives me something to do to talk about, because it's just fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you find anyone that says there's not enough information on it, some people are still like, well, it's too new, there's not information. Look online, look on PubMed, look on, which is the US Library of Medicine. That's where the doctors and every health professional goes for their actual studies. So there's studies on it. It has worked. A lot of the government programs are quoting the studies that have, but because it was in prohibition so long, there aren't the blind studies that they usually go by. But there's a lot out there, and just look on PubMed. Okay, so I can include that later, because that's where everything is. And I want people to realize that hemp and marijuana are both cannabis, and they both can help. The only difference between them is hemp would never get somebody high, because it doesn't have that THC that marijuana could have. So a lot of the marijuana has high THC, which makes somebody high, which is what the stigma is around. Right. But how you balance the difference between the CBD and the THC can prevent somebody from getting high and help them reduce the pain and inflammation, which also helps reduce the stress in their body as well. When you reduce stress and inflammation and people have that balance and they're more in homeostasis, everything gets better. Everything.
Wow. So what forms does CBD come in as a product that a consumer could use for themselves?
This is really interesting. And you know what I'm doing right now, and this is encouraging me to put it all together, is I'm going to make a series of all these little questions and answers and put them in short videos, because you can smoke cannabis. Mm-hmm. So remember, hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. The only difference is hemp cannot make you high, but you can use them both essentially the same, because the chemical compounds are the same in both of them. Right. But you can smoke. But I strongly discourage that, because it's very bad for your lungs. Right. And anybody can take pills. I'm not a fan of pills when it comes to any kind of medicine, and you take it down your stomach and it goes through your digestion. Everybody's digestive system is compromised, as you know, right? I do. It's hard. I mean, everybody's gut and immune system is based there, and it's hard. So when you take something, it goes through your liver and it gets processed a different way than taking it under your tongue. So I always suggest, if somebody's looking for something to help them naturally with pain, inflammation, and stress, to take a tincture under their tongue sublingually. It's like if you have a heart attack and you go to the doctor or you go to the hospital, they give you nitro under your tongue. It goes right to your bloodstream. And it helps you. So it is the most efficient way. Edibles, I'm not a fan at all about edibles, just for that same reason. Not only is it going through your digestion, it could be compromised. And there's a lot of studies that say that you only absorb, small percentage of that. But edibles, no one needs the sugar and everything else that's in that, which is inflammatory. So people that are, and it's very expensive. It's actually sometimes 5 to 10 times more expensive when you take it as an edible or a capsule, as a tincture underneath your tongue.
Right.
And I just wanted to say that there's different ones that taste bad. So I've talked to a lot of people that said, I can't take it under the tongue because it tastes like skunk. And there's certain strains that do. And then there's certain hemp CBDs that you take under the tongue that just taste a little bit like grass almost.
Yeah.
Like grass, like something like a dandelion almost.
Like grass in your backyard. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It tastes grassy.
Yeah. What you touched on it a little bit, but let's dive into what conditions are you seeing that CBD is helping people with? Like, I'm sure it must be the gamut, but give people an understanding of, if they have a condition that they're struggling with, or their children are struggling with, or parents are struggling with, whatever. What is can you touch on some conditions that you're really seeing success with this product?
So interesting. So this is the hardest thing for people to absorb, especially I talk to doctors during the day and nurses, and the hardest thing for them to realize is that when you take something naturally like CBD and it feeds your endocannabinoid system and it feeds it the cannabinoids that it needs, it actually starts to bring your body to homeostasis. And that in itself can correct things like blood pressure, like pain, inflammation in the neck, which could prevent headaches and migraines. It helps heal the gut, so it can help with acid reflux. I have people that have Crohn's disease that I've helped with it. So when it starts to work on your body, it's a whole body medicine. So for somebody to say, and the hardest thing I say is it can help with everything, because sometimes I do a CBD class and I've got 50 people and I have people say, I'm off my medication for Crohn's disease. And somebody's like, well, it helped my rosacea. And somebody's saying, took care of my acid reflux, headaches, and it goes on. And it seems like it is like, that can't be possible.
Whole body inside and out, basically.
When it helps your body reach homeostasis and balance, then it helps a lot. And when it actually reduces inflammation internally. So I have a lot of people that have pain, inflammation in their back, sore knees. And what happens is when it reduces the inflammation around that, because if you have anything that's stress in your body, it creates inflammation. When you can reduce that inflammation, they walk more and they have less pain. When you start having less swelling, less inflammation, and you walk more, you feel better, you get outside more. Then it reduces headaches. And I find when people's gut is healthier and they're feeling better, they eat less carbs and they don't have those carb cravings. So altogether, I have people that lost weight and I'm saying, please don't promote it as a weight loss, because what you're doing is shifting your health to be all around healthier, and you don't have the cravings, and you're choosing better things, and you're walking more, and it's more lifestyle. So a lot of times it is like that missing vitamin that somebody has, and it just works at what it needs to. I always say the right CBD that's right for you and the right dose is it's smarter than you, and it's going to do what it needs to do first. So if somebody said, I need to take it for pain in my knee, sometimes they have to take it for a couple weeks to realize their acid reflux is going away and their gut feels better and they no longer have the carb cravings in the afternoon. And then it slowly reduces inflammation in the knee. But
I was going to say, especially with my children, I've seen that what they eat definitely impacts inflammation in their joints. So
exactly. So one thing has to do with another, and that's sometimes what the health professionals are more looking for. This medication will help with a headache in 20 minutes and it lasts for 4 hours. Right? And that's not the way CBD does. It's like feeding yourself something amazing, going, okay, let's see what magic it does first. And oftentimes people will call me after a couple months and say, I was really skeptical whether that worked. But then I went on vacation, I didn't take it with me. And then I realized that I started to be like grumpy and I couldn't get up in the morning. And I was reactive to my kids. And my pain started to come back in my knee. Like, I know I have frozen shoulder and I have a really bad shoulder that I spent lots of money, chiropractors, everything on, and it's just there. I can't do a lot of things. When I stopped taking my CBD for some reason and I just, forget about it for a week or so, I really noticed that things start to creep back in that you forget. So sometimes when things are subtle and they're natural and people are shifted towards health, they forget how much pain they're in. And with a lot of the creams that I can get, so I have some creams that are just amazing for pain and they work within 5 minutes sometimes or less. And I say to people, you have to be really aware. Part of doing anything natural is being aware. So if you're aware, my pain is at 8 or 9 when I do this, then when you take that cream and you put it on, oftentimes people are like, don't believe it. They're like, that didn't work. I can't believe it. Saying being aware of what you have in your pain so that you realize when it's gone.
Right.
And that's a big deal that people are, and we go through a whole life not being aware, right? Well, now I think this right here is forcing us to be aware in our life, isn't it?
It's funny because when I talk about health stuff, especially related to my kids, in the natural world side, because we do tend to do.
You do, yes.
Our family tends to choose a lot of the natural routes, like with a naturopath and all of that kind of thing. Because I have found that we didn't choose that from the beginning, especially with our son. We went the traditional medical route, and for anybody whose child has eczema, you'll know that the very first thing they do is prescribe you steroids for their skin. And when those steroids stop working, then they make the dose higher. And we got to a point when our son was probably about 5 years old, they were going to put him on an adult strength of prednisone. And they were going to put him on prednisone for 18 months. For those of you who don't know what prednisone can kill your kidneys, especially as a child who's 5. The concern is definitely there for adults. It's
very
massively there for children. And that's where we got. That was the end of our medical journey with my son, because that was the only solution they had, was to put him on prednisone for 18 months. And I asked the pediatric allergist, that can't be the only solution. Like, there has to be, like, why are we not getting to the root of what's causing it rather than masking it? And he basically said to me, if you don't put him on this, don't come back to my office. And so we said, okay, thank you for your help. And
wow, how strong.
Yeah, it was brutal. And so sort of sitting back and looking at that journey, what I have realized as a mom and as someone who's been trying to support my son is that for a lot of things in the medical world, and I don't think I'm the only one who shares this opinion, but I will say it from my perspective anyways. From my perspective in the medical world, it's a lot of Band-Aid solutions. And so you're just treating what you see, not what's causing it. And I am not okay with that anymore, because to me, if you have a gaping wound, a Band-Aid's not enough. You have to fix the wound itself before everything is healed. And so just putting a Band-Aid on top of it's not going to fix it, right? And so that's why my family chooses a lot of natural solutions, because it gets to the root of what's causing the problem, not just putting a Band-Aid over top of it and saying, hopefully this holds, right? And I see CBD fitting in exactly like that. If you're getting the body out to homeostasis, at the very least, then it makes it easier to address the problems that are still there. And the solutions to fix that, I would assume, Debbie, the solutions to fix those issues then become that more impactful. Am I correct with that?
Yeah. No, you're bang on. And there's definitely times for doctors. I mean, we need doctors.
Agreed. Yeah.
So much. And I think a mixture of both, that when you need something.
Agree.
I was on prednisone because I had an allergy years ago, and I wish I knew about this. It was just horrific. Just horrific. And I fought the system to go natural as well. But the sad part is I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars getting tests, just not knowing what's right, just being in tears in doctor's offices going, you have to help me. Yeah. And it's not that they were trying to just put a Band-Aid on it. It's just that's all they are taught.
Yeah.
Right? Is if you have this pain, let's get rid of this.
That's how we fix it. Yeah.
Right?
Totally agree. Yeah.
But this pain can come from here, and it can come from here, and it can come from somewhere else. But that's a lot of work. And in all fairness, a lot of people aren't willing to do that work.
True.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, and that is, I mean, one thing I wanted to say is this isn't for everybody if you're not willing to do the work with it.
Right.
Because then the medication that happens, it happens quickly and it's very predictable, is more for those people, which is fine. But all around, I think that people are starting to look for something that's more whole body, that they can look for, that's going to heal the things that come up.
Right.
So I look at medical cannabis and CBD as this is my vitamin that I will be taking forever. I started doing this a lot with friends and family. That's really why I got involved in this, was because I have, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of knee replacements and MS and fibro in my family, and I'm watching everybody being in this pain and going through that path of medication and nothing working, and then you just compound more on top of it. So when I started to test out all of these things, and I'm working with some very reputable labs, and when I started testing all these things out and they started working, and people started to make decisions to control some of the medications they're having and not being on so many, then I realized that this is where I need to be. You realize at this time of your life, this is where I need to be, is to help people understand medical cannabis, CBD, and some natural solutions. And because I have the background of being in the nutrition business, sometimes that comes in really handy as well, of seeing things in the gut and understanding how it's helping all around for the whole body.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing.
Wait, so let's dive on to the other side of this for a little bit. What is CBD not? What can't it do?
Well, it can't do.
I jokingly said that this is our magic pot. It's not magic, obviously, right? What can't it do?
Well, we have topically, we have receptors throughout our whole body in our endocannabinoid system. So when you take cannabis underneath your tongue, or as a pill, if you take cannabis, then it reaches the receptors it needs to. And we've got them in our brain, our immune system, our digestive system, all over our body. We also have them underneath our skin. So when we take a cream, oftentimes that it reacts, and it's what our body needs. So it actually does heal the skin from the inside out. I've seen people with rosacea and really bad reactions that take a very good cannabis cream topically and find within a couple days they've seen remarkable difference that they haven't seen in years of using any other creams. So all I can suggest is people to really do the research on what you're taking. So when I do a consultation with CBD, I talk about medications people are on. I am not a doctor, and I'm not able to talk about what medications they're on, but the advice I have for everybody is to do their own research. I say, if you're on 5 medications, get 5 blank pieces of paper and have a clear head. And on the top of one piece of paper, put your medication and dive in deep. Find out what it is, where, how it works, what the side effects are. How do you know if you don't need it anymore? How long you should be taking it? Because a lot of medications, like acid reflux medication, for instance, there's just articles in the paper last year that said you shouldn't take them more than 3 months. That's it. Some people are on them for years and years and years, and dive in to know each one of your medications. If you've had enough, put that aside and dive in the next day with your other medication. So you have a really good understanding of what you're taking and how what it's doing to you, and also how to come off it. The other good resource I always suggest is a pharmacist. Pharmacists are there for you to help you all the time. So if you have 5 pieces of paper and your 5 medications, I would go to the pharmacist and say, assuming you want to come off those medications, I would say, these are my medications that I'd like to come off of. How can I safely do that? Right. The pharmacist will sit with you and say, this one, maybe not. This one, here's what we can do. And this one we'll do first and monitor it. And that's a really smart way to approach all of the medications that you're taking. And so that's one mindset, right? Let's come off medications if you can. And then let's introduce something natural, maybe at the same time. Or if your pharmacist says that you're on too many, and then maybe you need to shift your health a little away from those medications and what they're doing to you, and then start something natural, that's another good option. But CBD is more for somebody who's ready for something natural and to help shift. Taking a lot of medications is going to obviously shift your health synthetically into this is what it needs to do. And then when that doesn't work anymore, something else shifts something else. And if somebody's in that downward spiral where all their medications are not acting and they don't want a reset, or that the CBD isn't for them. I talk to a lot of people who kind of just want to do a total reset. And the first step is to look at medications, go to a pharmacist, and introduce something like CBD naturally. And then at the same time, obviously help with what you're eating. And everyone knows the basics, right? Just cut down on the acidic things.
Move your body and feed it the good things.
And feed it good things. And it's easier if you feel better, because food is an addiction, right? So if you start to feel better and you're on a different mindset and you just change a few things around, then other things shift. And sometimes it takes a while. But it is absolutely, to answer your question, not for somebody who wants a very quick fix. I have had people that said that it helped within a couple days, but you have to start shifting your health to help it work. And I have people that have been taking this for 4 years right now, and they won't be a day without it. Just a few drops under the tongue, and it keeps them. I know that I'm a better mom because of it, and I wish I had this when my kids were young.
Yeah.
Really wish. I'm not reactive to things that happen. I'm very calm. I'm very focused, way more than I was when my kids were little. It was a big shit show in my house, and I was very reactive many times. So it really helps control all that. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, it did, definitely. Is there anyone that CBD can't help? Who shouldn't be using this product?
Well, obviously I was going to say people who aren't into something natural, but they wouldn't even be looking into it because some people are not open to that. But somebody who's taking something like blood thinners. So we have to look a lot at medications and how, if somebody's taking blood thinners especially, and they take CBD and it starts to help. So don't forget, when you take CBD and you find the right one, the right dose for your body, it's going to help with all the things naturally that are out of balance. So if you're taking a medication to help with that, what is the side effect of not needing that medication is a good way to look at it. And when you have something like for headaches, if somebody gets migraines, that's pretty easy, because if somebody doesn't have the onset of a headache, they won't take the medication. So they can easily say, wow, this really helped and I wasn't able to take my medication. But if somebody's on a blood thinner and they're taking it regularly, and then they take CBD and their body starts to shift that they don't need it, the side effect of taking a blood thinner and not needing it is quite dramatic. If somebody, I'm exaggerating, but if somebody should fall and cut themselves, sometimes you can't control the bleeding because they're taking a blood thinner. It's always a concern. Right. So you should always look at, if you start to shift your health naturally, what are you taking synthetically with medications to also do that? Because it's time to take a shift with that as well. Does that make sense?
Yep. So for the average person, let's say average person, it's safe for most adults, yes?
Not taking medication, and yes. And
but is CBD safe for most adults?
It is. But I also have to warn people to look at their medication. So if somebody's taking thyroid medications, that's or hormone replacement, right? Mm-hmm. Or even something for anxiety. You're taking something synthetically that's helping with the problem, and then you're introducing something naturally that's also going to help with the problem. So it is time to look at that and take a reset. Okay. And okay. Right?
So then that would be the same for seniors then also. So what about children? Is it safe for children who, I would think most children shouldn't be on medication? Is it safe? Is it a safe product for children?
If you're looking at hemp has less than 0.03% THC and can never make anyone high. So I have known lots of children that are like very young in school that are taking hemp, and they're having a lot of, they're more clear, more focused, they're able to sleep better. But the government is saying that medical cannabis through a prescription is not available to anyone that's a minor. Which brings us kind of to another topic that I should touch on, and that is the difference between medical and recreational cannabis in Canada right now. There's a big line down the middle, and the stores that they opened up, which, right, they're all across the country, are recreational, and very few people are aware of that. So if somebody goes into those recreational stores, and for instance, I went in when they first opened up, and I said, I'd like something for a friend of mine that had Parkinson's. And I said, let me go in the store and see what they have, right? Mm-hmm. So I went in and they said, well, we suggest that he smoke. And I'm like, he's 80 years old. He's not going to smoke. And I don't think that's the best thing. So they tried to say that's the better idea. And I'm like, no, what else do you have? And they had CBD. And I said, I know a bit about it. Show me what you have. They only had 1 or 2 items that I would suggest would be good for that. And they said that they don't get the whole array of what's available from the government. They are focused more on recreational. And I walked out of there going, oh my gosh, no one knows this. No one. People are walking in there looking for help with pain and anxiety and inflammation. And they don't necessarily want what they have. They want medical. So what kind of struck me as, I need to educate people about this, is that you actually need a script and you need a doctor to prescribe for you a CBD to have anything that really has a lot of the medical value to it. And that's not clear, is it?
No.
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 And
No knowledge of that whatsoever.
I know. And the other thing that is, and I don't have the authorization to give you that script, but I can help you understand the process and how to get there and guide you that direction. Because then what else is not clear is how you get that script. There's stores that you can go, like you can go to your doctor, and likely your doctor is not educated in medical cannabis and will send you to a specialist. And then sometimes specialists will see you, but you have to wait in a waiting room to see them and ask them questions. The very people who need the product, who can't get out to sit in an office, are the ones that they're making go through this process, right?
Right.
So there's also an online process that there's some companies, and there's a few that I really like, that you can sit at home on your computer, make an appointment, and see a nurse practitioner on the other end who's 100% trained in medical cannabis to help you with your medical issues.
Right.
Wow, who knew, right?
Yeah.
The problem is with all of this new legislation, it's not promoted because the government's taking a stance that they really can't promote things. And in not letting them promote and helping, they're really helping people by not letting them promote it, but they're also not showing ways that people can get the help that they need. Right? So I'm a big advocate. If people need help with CBD, to get somebody on the other end of the phone that's a trained professional that's going to help them find what they need and help them dose and help them connect. That's available through a video chat, absolutely free of charge. And then when you talk to the person on the other end and you find what medication you need, then they help you choose it. You choose it online and it gets sent to your house. Right. That's still they're still doing that. Nothing's closed down. It's a necessity right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
okay, so from my own perspective, just in case it's fuzzy, and it is a little bit fuzzy in my own head.
I'm sorry. I know it's long.
Because it's a big topic, right? And
it
is. There's we're going to get into the misconceptions next, the misconception question next, but help me to understand. So let's talk about medicated CBD first of all. We won't worry about recreational because that's a whole other topic.
I do CBD classes, and I'm like, if anybody's here to talk about getting high, that is not what
right. Let's talk about that. So if we're talking about medicated CBD only, so you had said there's hemp, which will not get you high, and there is cannabis. No, that's the wrong word for it. What's the other one?
Marijuana. Marijuana. It's important to understand that cannabis is a species of plant, and hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. They're both considered cannabis.
So hemp will get you high, marijuana will not.
The opposite. Hemp will not get you high.
Hemp will not get you high, marijuana will.
Marijuana could. Here's the complicated part.
Ah.
So the cannabis plant can be hemp or marijuana. The chemical compounds in them can be the same, but there's a lot of different varieties of each of them. What makes the plants effective most of the time, the most medicinal value of it, is the CBD and the THC. They can fluctuate between species. So you can end up with a CBD made from marijuana that can actually get someone high. So
so that's what I wanted to know. Medically wise, is there one medically that will make you high and one medically that will not make you high? Yeah. Or they both not make you high?
You can have a CBD from either hemp or marijuana. You can have a CBD that can make you high and not make you high. The thing that will make you high is the amount of THC.
Okay.
So what is very frustrating is the name CBD. And I'll see if I can explain this. So CBD is just one component of the cannabis plant, either hemp or marijuana. It's actually 1/600th of the plant. There's over 600 other components, okay?
Oh.
So if CBD is so beneficial at reducing pain and inflammation and anxiety, and it's 1/600th of the plant, which means there's other chemical compounds that are helpful, why did they call it CBD? Right? It's kind of like calling orange juice vitamin C.
Yeah.
And saying Tang is the same as fresh squeezed, as the same as this, because they're just calling it one component. So I have a real beef with the name. It should actually be called cannabis oil containing CBD.
Right.
And it should list on it, this is a cannabis oil, and this has this much CBD, which helps with pain and inflammation, and this much THC, which could make you high. Now, THC is not always a bad thing. So yes, you can get high on it. But if people have neurological problems and diseases, and sometimes with Parkinson's, that THC can take the edge off their pain.
Right.
And I've seen people that have had a lot of pain that take THC and not get high. So it's kind of opening up. It's very.
So it's really something where you need help. This is not something the average person should just take on themselves and just be like, I'm going
100%.
and order myself some CBD oil.
CBD, yes. So that is the problem, I guess, is, and that is an issue with people saying, I took CBD and it didn't help. I'm like, wow, okay, this is a can of worms. That's like saying it. And here's another analogy to find out, for you to understand kind of how it works. And let's say you have a room of 100 people and everybody has a cold, every single person. You know that vitamin C is going to help everybody, right?
Yep.
But you can't say vitamin C didn't help one person, because everybody's different. Every vitamin C is different, right?
Dosing
is different. Everybody's immune system is different.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what vitamin C they took. How did they take it? How much did they take? Did they take too much? And what's their immune system like? And how bad their cold was, right? So the frustrating part is there's not a chart. So everybody's looking for this chart that says, I'm taking this CBD in this amount. Here's what I weigh, and here's how bad my conditions are. There is no chart like that at all, and compare that to vitamin C, right? So my suggestion is to do a little bit of research and talk to somebody that knows and can guide you into a CBD that's very good. Try it, and then have a lot of confidence in it, and be aware of how you're feeling. And if it doesn't work, change your dose. Right. Take a break for a few days, maybe change up the CBD. There's very few times out of hundreds and hundreds of people that I've seen, maybe twice I've seen it not help. And those were, conditions of somebody had neuropathy from chemo, where their nerves were very damaged.
Right. And
somebody else who was over 90 years old, and he had bone on bone back pain, like bone on bone. And it only hurt when he moved a certain way. And that is hard, right? But for the most part, I have seen 98% of the time CBD help, but sometimes it takes time. So does that help understand like the vitamin C analogy in the room?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely one where, like anything, I would say that the advice then is to make sure you're working with someone who understands the product also, that can help you with recommendations, right?
Yes, and I can be like a stepping stone. So because I was involved before it went legal, I do have access to some products that are not yet Health Canada approved. There's nothing wrong with them, but I have one that I love, and it has cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, black seed, and astragalus, and spearmint in it. Mm-hmm. And I love that because it helps with the gut, the immune system, and it's also nano. Exactly. So it's nano, so it's very small molecules. So this particular one works with 5 to 10 times less than other ones do. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So
we'll make sure that we put Debbie's information in when we post this. We'll make sure we put Debbie's contact information in the post as well, so that if you do have questions, if you're curious about this, you want to explore that, definitely connect with Debbie, and she can be a starting place to help you sort of find some research to look into, those kinds of things. Is there any misconceptions with CBD? I'm sure there's one that's come up in my head, and we probably kind of touched on it already a little bit.
They're getting high?
But yeah, talk to me a little bit about misconceptions with CBD.
Okay, so I guess a myth is that CBD cannot make you high. And depending on the amount of THC, it could. Because remember, CBD is just one component of the plant. It's actually, there's a lot of other things in it. So CBD could make you high depending on where it's sourced and the amount of THC in CBD. The other thing is, sometimes THC is good for you. Sometimes it doesn't make you high and it actually attacks the pain. The other thing is, sometimes people need a little bit of THC if they actually, if somebody has cancer, or somebody needs that to target those tumors. And there's a lot online about how that can help. and that's not going to hurt. The other thing, the misconception is that somebody needs to get high to be effective. That's not the case. I've seen lots of hemp CBD work really well with just a few drops a day, and then help people with their back pain, and they're able to manage their prescriptions. And another misconception is people have nothing to compare to. So in that, they're looking at, well, a 250 or 1,000 is better than a 500 milligram, and better than a 250 milligram. And that's not necessarily the case, because if you compare that to like vitamin C, if you get a nano vitamin C that's more bioavailable in your body, a small amount could work more than a lot.
Right.
So just going by the numbers on the label may not help. And the other thing is that pills, a lot of people taking the pills thinking that is the easiest way because it's easier to dose. But the truth is it goes through your system, and a lot of it might be wasted and not available. And also it's easier to dose with drops under your tongue, because sometimes you may be having a very anxious day. And sometimes if I go work out or I'm having more, then I'll take a little bit more before that. And I find for me, it does what it needs to do if I just take a few drops. So pills and edibles, I know a lot of people who think that edibles are amazing and they take them for pain. And they were told that gummies are very good for them because they're elderly and they need the collagen. Really? There's better ways to get collagen. And, they're taking sugar in their body. So taking a pure one under your tongue is much better. And the other thing is that results can be right away. So you definitely don't, with anything natural, necessarily feel it right away.
Right.
But changing your whole mindset and realizing this is going to help my whole body, and it's going to help my inflammation, but also help my stress and anxiety. When you do that, it's really subtle. And It isn't until you stop taking, you're like, wow, I just lost it. And I just am more anxious than I ever was before. And I have heart palpitations back. That could be because you didn't realize that they went away.
Right. Okay. So we always end in the No Mama Grow Mama series, we always end the interview with the same question. And so what are two things? So families are watching this and, maybe they're listening to this while they're cooking supper or, vacuuming or going for a walk, those kinds of things. If people were to only remember two things about this information or CBD itself, what are two things that you would want them to remember?
Oh, good question. I would ask people if they're open to natural solutions to really trust and to keep looking for something, because I believe it's out there in plants. This is a very amazing plant that can help heal on so many levels. So I want people to absolutely trust. And the other thing is you don't necessarily need to be high, and don't judge people who are taking it. Because I know people that are just, they feel like they can't tell anybody because they're embarrassed. But it can be very, very healing, and we should share that with people and not be nervous about it, and just trust and keep moving on and try something else. It's definitely not going to hurt.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Awesome. Beautiful. And to touch on the high thing too, I think I know people who take CBD and they don't want to be high. And there is that. There are formulas available that you can take, that you can get the medicinal benefits that will not make you high, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it's exactly what I'm about. And I'm telling you, I work with families that have drug addictions, and they are the last people in the world that you would think that would be totally open to this. And then they see it changing one life and they're like, well, that's really cool. It's helping my mom with her knee replacement. And then they say, well, it's going to help their husband with something else. And then it expands. So I have clients who I've helped maybe 10 or 15 people in their family, because one has acid reflux and one has headaches and one has inflammation and bad knees. And there's so many things that it can reach out to.
Right. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that information with us today, Debbie. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna put Debbie's contact information in the post. If you're interested in more information, resources that you can do your own research with, please, I encourage you to contact Debbie for this, whether it's for yourself, for your family, a loved one that you have. I definitely recommend that you contact Debbie to learn more about this natural option that's available for us. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Salsa, baby.